new Renault Kwid. It's a car which promises to take the Indian small car buyer's imagination by storm by simply its stylish looks. But are those mini duster looks all that it takes to beat the king of this segment, the Suzuki Alto? We'll find that out on the show today. There's no denying that this is not only the better looking car between these two, but also the best looking affordable hatchback. And those mini SUV looks do go a long way in giving it a pleasing personality.
Well, if you are looking at the brochures of both these two cars, you could be forgiven for thinking that Renault have misprinted the boot capacity on their car. The 300 liters of space on the Kwid isn't a mistake on the brochure. It really is a huge boot, and as you can see, it's a very well shaped boot. There's a little bit of intrusion from the suspension, but it's not too much, and this boot is generally good enough for those long highway trips as well as big airport transfers. Let's check out the boot on the Maruti Suzuki Alto now. In isolation, it's 177 liters, which is pretty okay, but it's not as deep as the one on the Kwid. But even though it's not a very big boot, the good point is that the loading sill is much lower than the one on the Kwid, which means that if you have a big box to load in, then you won't have to be using too much of your back. Well, so here I am in the Maruti Suzuki Alto, and as you can see, headroom is pretty impressive, and the seats offer very good cushioning as well. The only issue is it's not a very wide car, unlike the Kwid, which is pretty wide and feels a lot more airy as well as roomy over here. But that said, the quality of materials on the Alto is definitely better than the Kwid, and this interior feels like it will age well, and also it feels more tactile to operate the switchgear in this car, and it does feel like this will last a lot longer than the one on the Kwid. Well, one more area where the Alto is a little irritating to use, both these cars are really, is the fact that the power window buttons are not placed on the door pads. On the Renault Kwid, the power window buttons are over here on the dashboard, while on the Alto, they're right below the handbrake, which can really be annoying to use when you are moving. Well, in terms of features, you get ESP, you get 6 airbags, and you also get electronic climate control. Well, no, you don't. I'm just messing with you. I'm just figuring out if you are paying attention to me or not. If you want to know the features on this car and the one on the next one, then you can head to our website and find them out. Well, so here I'm inside the Renault Kwid now, and as you can see, this car comes with an all-black cabin. Also, it's a much better place in terms of practicality than the Alto. You get these two big glove boxes over here, and you also get a tray between them where you can keep your cell phone and wallet and other odds and ends. And also, you have two big cup holders right over here and one small one below the handbrake. Well, another area where it has the clear edge over the Alto is in the features department. Now remember, this car comes with a touchscreen panel for infotainment system, and it also gets a GPS enabled map, while the Kwid also offers you a digital computer on board, and it offers you things like distance to empty meter as well as the trip computers. Well, in terms of seat comfort, it really is neck and neck between both these cars. Because you sit a lot higher in the Kwid, you get a sense of airiness and roominess inside the cabin, and also getting in and out of this car is much more easier than in the Alto. Well, here I'm in the back seat of the Alto, and as you can see, headroom is pretty decent, but knee room really is at a premium over here. And to be honest, if you are a tall passenger, then you're better off in the front seats of this car rather than the back. And also, it's not a very wide car at the back, which means that you can only house 2 occupants over here. Again, for practicality, it's not a great place to be because the door bins have absolutely no bottle holders or any kind of holders in them. Well, compared to the Alto, the Kwid really does feel like a segment from above and feels a whole lot bigger than that car. And as you can see, knee room is generous, headroom is good as well, and because it is a much wider car at the back, it does feel better at accommodating 3 passengers over here. Also, the floor panel is very flat, which means whoever's sitting here has plenty of place to stretch his feet at. Well, so here I am driving the Renault Kwid. Now this car, remember, comes with an 800cc petrol motor. There's only a petrol motor on offer, there's no diesel at the moment, and this engine develops about 54 bhp of power, which is decent considering its size as well as dimensions. Well, the first good point about the Kwid is the fact that the steering wheel is very light, and that makes it a very breezy affair to find a tight parking space below your building or around your office, and makes it a very good car for those city commutes. The other good point is also the fact that this car has a very cushiony suspension. It really does soak in the bumps very well when you are doing slow city speeds, and only the sharpest of sharp crevices manage to feel their way into the cabin. So very good job from Renault in terms of the suspension tune-up, especially for slower city speeds. Well, one area where the Kwid is clearly behind the Alto is in the driver dynamics, and in that sense it is the Alto which feels a lot more better to drive, because that car offers you a much more crisp gearbox and also better handling from the steering wheel, a lot of communication from the steering wheel. The one on the Kwid feels very woolly and very soft, and also the gearbox isn't as slick as the Alto's is. Both the K10 as well as the Maruti Alto 800 offer you very crisp and very slick gearboxes. So in that sense, this car is definitely behind in terms of the driving dynamics. Well, unlike the Alto, which has a very responsive engine and really does start to respond from very low RPMs, the Kwid's engine needs to be revved quite a bit to get the best out of it. And if you are driving with a full complement of 4 passengers as well as the AC switched on, then you really have to rev the engine hard and drop the gears down if you want a quick acceleration maneuver. And that brings me to the other negative on this car, which is a lot of engine noise, which does tend to filter into the cabin, making it a not so quiet place to be in. Well, highway stability is pretty good considering the compact dimensions as well as the compact wheelbase that this car has. So in that sense, it is a good car for doing those highway speeds in excess of 100 kph. And with the big boot and the roomy cabin, this is the best affordable hatchback at the moment in India for those long highway trips. Well, so here I am driving the Maruti Suzuki Alto now, and we are driving the K10 version of the car. Well, the Alto K10 comes with a 1-litre engine and it develops about 67 bhp of power. Also, the Alto feels a lot more agile than the Kwid, and its steering wheel feels a lot more communicative than the one on the Kwid. And even though both these cars are at the same price point, it is the Alto which is a better car for keener drivers. One department where it falls slightly behind the Kwid is in the ride comfort department, especially at slow city speeds. Also, Maruti have given this car internally adjustable mirrors, which is a boon when you are driving in traffic, unlike the Kwid, which doesn't offer you any adjustment from the inside whatsoever. Well, what makes the Alto K10 a better car for keener drivers is the fact that this engine simply loves to be revved, and even when you rev it hard, it does not throw a very irritating sound, unlike the Kwid, which really does tend to get very noisy inside the cabin. This car feels rather relaxed compared to the Kwid. Well, there's absolutely no doubt about that the Renault Kwid has the edge over the Maruti Suzuki Alto. And the only reason to consider the Alto as your first car is if you live in a remote area in India and want Maruti's trusted as well as peace of mind sales and after service network.